step further and show us how to completely disassemble it.
Absolutely, Larry, I could show you that.
Okay, great.
So we start out just like you do when you field strip.
Okay.
You want to push down on the bolt, holding on retention all the time to the bolt.
Right.
Take your tool, slide your tool in, 90 degrees. So now you'd like to rotate the chamber out. Take your tool out and gently release the bolt. Those are your pieces disassembled.
Field strip.
That's your basically field strip. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to show you how to take the firing pin and the extractor out.
Okay.
Those are the only two things other than the field stripping that you need to make sure you clean. One thing we use is we use these two. We like to use bench blocks.
Sure.
It gives your pins a place to go because you don't want to take the pins out. There's no reason to take them all the way out.
Could you show which pins you're talking about?
Yes, I can. The only two pins you want to take out here, Larry, are the extractor pin and the firing retainer pin.
Now, do you take them out all the way?
No. We made sure we left enough meat on here that so you could tap them out and leave them in there. That way you don't have them falling off the bench, rolling on the floor and trying to find them. But if you do lose them, they're a 3/32 standard roll pin.
Okay.
This roll pin up front here, this stays in all the time. There's no reason to take this out. This actually holds the spring in from coming out the front end.
Okay.
Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to take the extractor out. Now when you're going to tap these out, Larry, you just need a real light tap.
Okay.
You don't want to drive them all the way out. We left enough meat that you could keep them in there so we didn't lose them.
Okay.
You just give it a couple of taps.
I can see it coming out on this side, right here.
Yep. And you'll be able to feel it. Oh, I popped it all the way out.
Well, that's okay.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's your extractor.
Let me see it down here a little bit. Okay, that's the hole we just pounded.
That's the hole
roll
we
pin
just came out of. That's right. There also is a spring in there. As you can see, it's right here.
Okay.
Let's get this baby out.
And where does that spring go?
There
on
is.
This, on the extractor, or is it just butted up
It
against
actually sits right here on the extractor.
This way?
No, it sits like this. Sits directly.
Oh, on top coming down.
Right.
Pressure on that end. Okay, I have it.
Okay. So you want to take those out, and you want to make sure you get the extractor real clean and get the spring real clean.
Okay.
Because the spring will start getting stuff in it, and it'll start not working real well.
Okay.
So then you'll have extraction problems. You also want to make sure this slot's real clean
Okay.
before you put it back in. Other thing we want to show you how to take out is a firing pin. Okay. Same thing. I'm going to start your pin. Nice light taps.
That one sounds a little more firm.
Yeah, you got a lot more meat in there, Larry, compared to the little one. And you'll be able to feel, when you get past there, you'll be able to feel that firing pin move on you.
Which you're pressing right here. There you go.
And you can see we didn't drive it all the way out.
And this firing pin has a spring right on the end.
Yes, sir, it does. And that's what you need to make sure that you clean this every 1,500 rounds. Because this spring will get all gunked up and your firing pin won't work anymore.
Okay, what about this little notch? Is that where one of the pins go through?
That notch is where the firing pin lines up.
Okay.
So I'm going to show you a real easy way of lining that pin up when we go to put it back together.
Okay.
If you look at the firing pin, you can see the firing pin is flat on the end. Okay? This vertical flat here correlates with this flat here.
Okay.
So if this flat is vertical, this flat is horizontal.
Okay.
Your pin will slide right across there, and your roll pin's sitting in there like that so that the pin can go back and forth, but it's not going anywhere.
Sure. Okay, Chance, we've got all of the parts laid out in front of us here from the bolt system, and I'd like you to kind of name each one for me.
Sure, absolutely, Larry. This right here, this is the bolt. This here, This is our chamber piece. It has the 223 chamber on one side and the 22 long rifle chamber on the back side. This here is the extractor with the extractor spring, and you can notice the difference between the firing pin spring and the extractor spring is quite a bit of difference. So you don't have to worry about putting the extractor spring on the firing pin, it won't fit.
Okay.
This is our firing pin. This here is the rail system.
And what's that built into the rail system?
This right here, that is the ejector.
Okay, very good.
This here is a spring guide rod, and this is a spring.
Okay, Chance, we've got this bolt assembly apart, and you're going to show us how it goes back together and give us a few hints on where we should add oil.
Okay, not a problem. What I like to do is when I start, I like to put the extractor in first.
Okay.
You want to take your extractor spring and your extractor. First thing you want to do is you want to put your extractor spring in, and once you see the kit, when you take it apart, it might be a little hard to see it, but there's a little circle right here.
That's perpendicular to the line.
That's 90 degrees right from the line. That's where your spring will go.
Okay.
You slide your spring in that hole, and the spring won't go into the groove, so it'll only go into that hole. This hole here lines up with this firing pin hole, or this roll pin hole. What I do is I take the extractor and I
Place it on the spring.
place it on the spring, and it's just on the end, and when you have it you can see the hole line up with
Okay.
the roll pin.
Mm-hmm.
Push my finger on it, give it a couple of taps. Okay, so you'll feel it kind of snap in there. You'll start it and you'll kind of feel it snap into the slot.
The extractor?
The extractor. Just give it a couple of nice little taps. You're not going to hurt it. Stainless. Give it a nice little pull, make sure it's working.
You have tension, and that's good.
You want to make sure you're right below this line. So you just want to give it a couple of taps just to clear the surface.
Okay. Now, which line was that you were referring to?
I'm referring to this surface line.
Okay.
This line of surface. So you want to make sure you're just below that line of surface.
Okay.
Just like that.
Okay.
Okay, now the extractor's in.
What comes next?
The firing pin's next, Larry. And you
Okay.
can see by looking at this firing pin, right here you got yourself a little slot. And that's where the roll pin sits
Okay.
to hold the firing pin in.
But when you're putting that back in, how do you know it's lined up with where the roll pin is?
The best way I found out to do it is if you look at the end of the firing pin,
Okay.
you can see the end of the firing pin is flat. It's not round like a center fire pin would be.
Almost like a screwdriver.
Right, absolutely. So I make sure that that end is straight up and down vertical. If that end is vertical in the end of the bolt, then this piece is in horizontal position for the roll pin.
Okay. Pretty simple.
So what I like to do is, because we left the pin in there, I put my spring on the end. I set my roll pin in, I set my firing pin in, and I look at the front end of it. And I look to see if that pin is straight up and down.
Okay.
If that pin is straight up and down, then all I do is press on it to hold it in, because that will get you location forward and back for your roll pin.
Okay.
So while I'm holding it in my hand, I tap the roll pin in.
Pretty simple.
And it's in.
Very good.
And if you're close to being straight up and down, that pin will make that flat be in the right position. As long as you're not 90 degrees off, as long as you're close to being flat, that roll pin will help you find that position.
Okay.
So if you have it in there like that, then that roll pin will slide right in that slot and stay there.
Great.
Okay, Larry, so now we're going to put the kit back together. conversion kit back together. So the only oil that I use on this kit is right here on these rails. Other than that, you don't really need any lubrication.
On both sides of the rails?
On both sides. So what I like to do is I like to take a patch and soak it with oil. Take the patch and fold it over, give it one swipe. That's all the oil that you need for the kit. If you have too much oil on the kit, what happens is the burn off from the 22 ammo will gunk up your kit, it won't function.
Right.
If you don't have enough lube, if you don't have any lube on there, the pieces from the shooting the brass will cause your kit to malfunction.
Okay.
So you need just a tiny bit of lubrication. So what we're going to do is we're going to stand this back up. We're going to stick our guide rod and our spring on. So we'll slide our spring on our guide rod, put it in its location hole, pull down on the spring, take our bolt, make sure that our spring goes into the guide rod tube, make sure our slots line up, and you can really tell because you can almost let it just drop on. Take your tool, hold down your bolt because now you got spring tension on it. Hold down your bolt, put your tool in and rotate it 90 degrees. Just like when you're field stripping it, you want to make sure that that extractor is on the top side of the kit, on the top side of the bolt. Set it in, rotate it till it clicks. Take your tool 90 degrees and let it go. Just give it a little tweak and make sure that you're in there. Lightly release your bolt.
And it's back together.
And it's back together.
Ready to
and
go.
you're ready to shoot. Yes, sir.
Super. Okay, Chance, now that you've got your conversion kit back together, let's put it back in the rifle.
Okay, well, one of the things you want to make sure of is you got to make sure you have the hammer down when you put it in. So what you want to do is you want to cycle one time with your 223 bolt, put the safety on.
Okay.
Okay? This way your hammer's down. Take your takedown pin out, pivot it, grab hold of your charging handle and pull back light. You don't need to take your charging handle out all the way. Just enough for the bolt to clear.
Okay, I want to clarify something. When you say you're hammered down, that may be misconstrued a little bit. Do you mean cocked and ready, or do you mean in a fired position?
No, you're right. Cocked and ready.
Okay.
You're absolutely right. You can see how this hammer's down.
Mm-hmm.
If the hammer was up, you would not be able to close the gun once the kit was in.
Thank you.
Slide the 22 kit in. Close your weapon. Put your takedown pin in. Cycle it one time.
Ready to go.
You're ready to go.
Wow, let's go to the range.